Hi everybody, Father Rich Jasper from Immaculate Conception and St. Jude Mission Church. It is the third week of Lent and it is Tuesday, March 10th. We're in the Gospel of Matthew today, chapter 18, and Matthew writes, Peter approached Jesus and asked him, Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times. Jesus answered, I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. That is why the kingdom of heaven may be likened to a king who decided to settle accounts with his servants. When he began the accounting, a debtor was brought before him who owed him a huge amount. Since he had no way of paying it back, his master ordered him to be sold, along with his wife, his children, and all his property, in payment of the debt. At that, the servant fell down, did him homage, and said, Be patient with me, and I will pay you back in full. Moved with compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the loan. When the servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him and started to choke him, demanding, Pay back what you owe. Falling to his knees, his fellow servant begged him, Be patient with me, and I will pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he had him put in prison until he paid back the debt. Now, when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said to him, You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt because you begged me to. Should you not have had pity on your fellow servant as I had pity on you? Then, in anger, his master handed him over to the torturers until he should pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you, unless each of you forgives your brother from your heart. I start with this thought. I laugh at Peter because I know that Peter came to Jesus saying, Jesus, look how great I am. I would be willing to forgive 7 times the injury that has been done to me. In Jewish culture, it really was the understanding and the expectation that you have to forgive someone 3 times. So 7 times seems like Peter saying, look at my fantastic heart and how great I am in forgiving. And then Jesus says, Peter, not 7, but 77 times. So we now think to ourselves, well, good, on the 78th, I don't have to forgive. But that's not true. 77 simply means, quite frankly, that we constantly have to have a heart that is open to mercy. That's ultimately what this entire story is about, because he who is mercy, he who went to the cross for us, he who paid off our debt of sin, is saying to us, as I have done, so also you must do. Now, in that understanding, it does not mean that we just let whatever happened to us, like, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't bother me. Of course it matters, and of course it will hurt, and it will be a cross that we carry. But what Jesus is really trying to do here is to help us to move beyond the chains that we sometimes keep on ourselves because we're not willing to forgive the fact that others have in their brokenness hurt us. And we have to allow that forgiveness in our hearts so that that chain doesn't keep tightening around us. You know, where this whole parable is leading us to understand is in the mercy that we've been shown by our good and loving God. We have to be willing to offer it to others. And it's hard. It is a challenge. But Jesus showed us how. He went to the cross in order to help us do so. And really, quite frankly, the only reason that we can show mercy is because he showed mercy to us first. And it's his mercy flowing through us to others. That's how we can say 77 times, it's all his mercy. We just have to be open to it and ask him for it. So if you're struggling to forgive, if the words of the Our Father prayer, forgive us as we forgive others, if that's hard for you, just simply come back and ask the Lord, Lord, I know that you are merciful. And I just ask you, come into my life and come into my heart and start to do the work of forgiveness that I'm having a hard time offering. Because, Lord, you've given it to me, and I have to allow you to give it to others through me. That's mercy, and that's what we ask for today. God bless you.